The known history of Italian stretches back around 6,000 years to the people who spoke the Proto-Indo-European language, an unrecorded but reconstructed language spoken in Eastern Europe or Western Asia. Since then it's changed a lot and passed through a number of distinct phases. The most famous of these is Latin, the language of the Roman Empire 2,000 years ago. The other two I'll discuss in this video are Proto-Italic, the ancestor of Latin, and Proto-Romance, which is descended from Latin and forms the last stage before breaking up into the various Romance languages. For the purpose of this video, I'll be using the classical form of Latin, which was used in the early Roman Empire and forms the basis of the later standards. There is some debate over whether the Romance languages descend directly from Classical Latin or through rural varieties, but for this video I'll assume they come straight from the classical form. The Romance languages form a continuum of dialects, involving lots of regional variation. Modern Standard Italian combines several regional languages and dialects of Italy, although is primarily based on the Tuscan and Florentine dialects of the north, as these were often used as literary varieties. As such, it's difficult to establish a direct chronological list of changes from Latin for all words. I've done my best to list all the major ones, but be warned that there may be mistakes and that the order may be wrong. To show how the language changes, I've made use of sound change notation. For those who know how to read it, here are the conventions I've used. For those who can't read it, try to follow along with what I'm saying and enjoy looking at each stage of the language as it evolves. So, here are the Proto-Indo-European words we're going to be following along. I'll pronounce the first laryngeal as a glottal stop, and the second and third as plain and labialized pharyngeals, respectively. Requer, duenos, merieti, penque, quier, esti, de ilios, bleus, egior, dunguers, merter, snakes, nevos, relsom, herter, piscis, pods, vrerts, swex, gmo, royom, gumieti. Moving towards Proto-Italic, we see a number of changes similar to other branches of the family, such as Kentamization, where the palatal velars merge with the plain, changes relating to the laryngeals, aspirate stops, and syllabic consonants. Some of these are very similar to Proto-Celtic, giving rise to the theory that these branches are more closely related to each other than other branches. Some of the newly created fricatives merge, and the stress shifts to the first syllable. Irregular changes affecting these words are that the word for heart descends from the oblique stem, giving an O vowel and the D at the end of the word. The same thing happens with the word foot, where the oblique stem had the nominative S added. The word for six loses the W at the start, probably by analogy with the word for seven, which also begins with SE, but no W. The word for root also gained a K, which may be shared by Tocharian. Aqua, duenos, clamat, quenque, hort, est, phalios, flos, ego, dungua, mater, snix, novos, ausum, pater, piscis, pets, radix, sex, hamo, ovum, goniet, Moving now to Latin, we see the loss of the voiced fricatives, a change of O to U affecting many of the noun endings, loss and rhoticization of Z, several monophthongizations and diphthong changes, and nasalization of stops before nasals. Here we see the D in the word for tongue turn into an L by analogy with the word for lick. The I in the word for five lengthens by analogy with the ordinal, and the E in the word for human turns into an O under the influence of the M and O following it. The S in snow disappeared, but this was a regular process through Z, as listed in the sound changes. Aqua, bonus, clamat, quinque, cor, est, filius, flos, ego, lingua, mater, nix, novus, aurum, pater, piscis, pes, radix, sex, homo, ovum, venit. From this point on, the words will become ever more recognisable to modern Romance speakers. H and final M are lost, several vowels combine and lengthen, short vowels are lowered, W and B often merge. Vowels in hiatus become semi-vowels, which later start to palatalize consonants. The circ cluster is simplified. An epenthetic vowel is added before S and a consonant, merging with existing forms and sometimes dropping this vowel. Finally, the length distinction is fully lost, leaving a difference instead of quality. During this time, many nouns lost their original nominative forms, instead using their accusatives. This was often part of a process of regularization, where the nominative form was different to all the other forms. The I in lingua may have been lengthened by the NG cluster. Otherwise, a form lingua may have existed, but later been re-Latinized in Italian, a process common at the time. The G in ego was lost, leaving the vowels in hiatus. Also, the qua in the word for five dissimilated from the one after, opposite to the process in Proto-Italic. Aqua, bonus, clamat, quinque, corre, est, filius, flore, eo, lingua, mater, neve, novus, auro, pater, pisce, pede, radice, ses, homo, ovo, venit. Finally, we move into Italian. Here we see loss of many final consonants, metathesis of the final R, merger of the mid-high vowels, diphthongization of the open mid-vowels, further palatalizations, gemination of unvoiced stops, and shift of L to Y after an initial consonant, which doesn't palatalize it. This is where words like pianta and ghiaccio come from. The qua in aqua geminates during this time, spelled with a C in writing. Acqua, buono, cinque, cuore, è, figlio, fiore, io, lingua, madre, neve, nuovo, oro, padre, pesce, piede, radice, sei, uomo, uovo, viene. Thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, you may like to know that I've done the same concept with German. If you're here for the Italian, I have a playlist for the language, which I'll continue to add to over time.